Restraint has a half-life. Uh, the article is written in the context of changing global consensus against the nuclear testing, which is fraying at a fast rate when the global superpowers are showing keen interest and active steps in testing their nuclear capabilities, and how much India must reevaluate its position of nuclear restraint and recalibrate its nuclear policy. It has the most recent announcement has been by the Donald Trump that United States would consider resuming the nuclear testing, and this shows that the nuclear restraint which the global superpowers, the nuclear capable nations have shown since last 2 to 3 decades, was a politically convenient and morally persuasive decision and not a legally binding one. That was a very fragile fragile condition in which this nuclear peace was we were beholding. Washington also doubts the reliability of the nuclear arsenal without testing. Other superpowers have also revived their activity. For example, Russia has revived its activity at the Arctic sites. China is expanding its facilities at Lop Nur. Also, China has been growing its arsenal, stockpiling the major nuclear raw materials, and growing in size and sophistication. Pakistan is also diversifying its tactical and sea-based systems. United States again is designing new warhead classes and signaling readiness to test again. So these geopolitical compulsions put India into a place where it needs to recalibrate and rethink about its nuclear testing, nuclear restraint policies. We must understand that voluntary moratorium on the nuclear testing we imposed on ourselves was a symbol of strategic maturity and moral confidence. But to stay rigid on and remain in the rigid on the nuclear restraint policy while the world is moving is not prudence, but it's a paralysis. And too much restraint might lead to inertia in moving along with the world order. Thus, India must now reevaluate its position, not to be the first to test again, but to ensure that it is not the last to adapt. It is also very visible that CTBT, which the India never signed, but it remained in limbo because even the major powers who signed it never ratified it. India has established its credible minimum deterrence, which is anchored in the no first use policy. But this deterrence comes not only with the existence of the power, but also having the confidence in their performance at par with the current technologies. Since 1998, technology, materials, and delivery systems have evolved, and India need to keep pace with them. For example, we have taken active steps. For example, AGNI-V, which is an intercontinental ballistic missiles, is now operational. We are also servicing the submarine, nuclearly capable submarine like INS Arighat, INS Arihant. The next step where we are taking active steps, DRDO is taking active steps, is MIRV technology, that is multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, which will require new levels of assurance about yield, miniaturization, and reliability. Even the United States has shown no longer sounds entirely confident that simulations about the nuclear attack are sufficient, but there is need to test in the physical and the actual format. So when it puts India in a more desperate situation because it has rather fewer validated data points and there is higher uncertainty. There is no need to rush for the nuclear testing, but it should prepare for a world in which others might rush into such testing. We must understand that to reconsider restraint is not to advocate recklessness. We need testing which is grounded in scientific, limited, and responsible behavior. We need to keep par with the new generation designs to assure the reliability of our nuclear arsenals. And it would also communicate to our adversaries that India's deterrent remains modern and credible. and its nuclear strategy remains in the actual modern ideas and the modern realities. Okay, then comes the we must understand that strategic autonomy demands flexibility and not fixation into rigid ideologies. Uh, if the testing becomes unavoidable, it must remain in the consistent in with the it will remain consistent with the idea's ethical framework of credible minimum deterrence and no first use. We can understand that testing can be principled. The purpose of testing would be knowledge, not escalation, preparedness, not provocation. India's restraint after 1998 demonstrated strategic maturity, but its willingness to re-examine that restraint today would demonstrate confidence. The same courage, the ability to judge when readiness serves peace better than ritual is needed again. India's moratorium on the nuclear testing was a promise to itself, not a treaty with others. And when these circumstances change, we need renewals, we need re-examinations. And strategic maturity not lies in the state of denial, but a readiness for the change. And India must ensure that its deterrent remains not only moral but also credible.